Okay everybody, welcome to the maintenance video on the 6.2 liter my GMC Sierra. This is a 1500 half-ton pickup truck with the 6.2 liter V8. It is a 2018. This truck has not been serviced in quite some time. I don't think the spark plugs have ever been replaced, and the truck almost has 100,000 miles on it. So it's time to do some routine things that I like to do to vehicles. And just like everybody, you get busy, it's a daily driver, you don't care about these odds and ends things that start to stack up, but it really depends on your fuel consumption, the performance of your vehicle, your reliability, and your safety. So some things I want to mention along the way throughout this video could potentially give you the ammunition, tools, encouragement, and information you need so you can make better choices to protect your vehicle and keep it running strong for as long as possible. For starters, we are going to change out with the OEM AC Delco spark plugs. I picked up the 12622441 or the 41-114. Hopefully my camera can focus in on this tiny little print. But we've got a nice kind of golden brown spark plug on the iridium spark plug, the old one. I've just pulled one cylinder so far. I'm going to go ahead and replace all the spark plugs because I don't think that's been done. That will make the engine run a lot stronger and cleaner, giving me that better spark. I do run Molygen oil in the engine, and I've done that for quite a few oil changes so far. I've always run the full synthetic, but I have never run the Molygen Motor Protect in this engine. I've always mixed Ceratec Liqui-Moly product. Give me a second. That is this bottle right here. This has been run in a lot of my vehicles. I even had a 1,000 horsepower twin turbo Camaro. My brother had basically a 1,000 horsepower Pro Charge Camaro, and we've had many massive NA cars that have made a lot of great power that were abused, and they took it very well running this engine additive for your oil. That's Ceratec. Ceratec is awesome. I'm a firm believer in it. It's basically like ceramic coating the inside of your engine to keep your moving parts protected, fill in those gaps and voids that you have over the course of time. But this blends very well with your Specialtech Liqui-Moly oil, and it actually blends very well with the Valvoline VR1 oil that I ran in my twin turbo car, but that was the only car I ran that special oil in. Liqui-Moly, however, is what I run in all of my family's vehicles along with my truck. So I run Molygen. Now after the conversation I had with Liqui-Moly, I'm going to be running this in my pickup truck. I got a couple gallons of this left, and then I'm going to switch over to Specialtech, the AA version. That's going to align perfectly with the GM 6.2 liter and the 5.3, and you can mix Ceratec with the Specialtech. However, I'm going to run this very expensive oil additive with the Molygen, and that's Molygen Motor Protect. So this gives you 50,000 kilometers. Let's see here if they can give me something in a language I can understand, because this is kind of a unique oil additive. 500 milliliters is sufficient for up to 5 liters of motor oil. Add to oil after oil change to fresh oil. So this is basically going to give you the binding chemical friction modifier, but it's going to play well with the Molygen standard full synthetic oil. It doesn't work well with Ceratec and your Molygen oil. So I'm probably doing a really poor job of communicating this. Basically, Ceratec or MOS2, the cheaper version of their oil additive, is something you would mix with your Specialtech or TopTech. Molygen requires your Motor Protect or nothing at all, because you've got those modifiers already in your oil, and you're basically wasting money by adding something like Ceratec with the Molygen oil. I've been running Molygen in a lot of the Volvos I've been driving and my family's vehicles that are their daily drivers, and you're basically just throwing that into the air of the oil, and it's not doing anything. It's not connecting and binding with your moving parts because this is already coating your engine appropriately. So got a little learning curve on that. Before I get into actually doing the mechanical work, please like and subscribe, give my video a like, give me a follow, I super appreciate it. I've got review videos on the Impulse buyer review channel, which I'll link down below. Of course, the channel you watch me on, this is more of the project-based stuff, so I super appreciate that. If you want to buy any of these products that I am talking about, I will link them below so you guys can have access to that. If you buy it through my links, it gives me a tiny cutback, and that's a way to support my channel. The next thing I'm going to do in this truck, other than standard stuff like tire rotation, I'm going to check the brake pads before I drive the truck for an extended period of time. I am going to be draining or flushing my brake fluid. I notice my reservoir is low. It's not too low, it's about 50%. That probably means my brake pads are getting down there, so we'll find out if I'm going to be needing to be purchasing those brake pads for the front or rear of the truck. But especially on a track vehicle or a vehicle where you're pushing it hard, you're in a hotter climate, you heat up those brake, your brake calipers, your brake pads, your rotors, you're getting hot temperatures. You're going to build condensation in your brake lines, and over time your brake fluid's going to break down. You're going to get condensation in the lines, and you're going to get that spongy brake pedal feel. That's going to significantly impact your performance of your brakes, which can cause catastrophic failure. If you're doing 150 miles at the end of a track, miles an hour, and you're trying to hit the brakes, and you have poor quality brake fluid, you could not have brakes. Your brakes may not be receiving the amount of pressure that you're putting on your brake pedal because you've got moisture, condensation in your brake lines. That's getting extreme, but for a daily driver that has, let's say, 150 or 200,000 miles on it and you've never flushed your brake fluid, get to doing that. It's very inexpensive to do it if you've got a buddy with you. There are systems out there, and I would love to do a review on the system out there that you can hook up and you can bleed your brakes with a system very easily all by yourself. There are some really nice ones out there. There's some decent ones that are for do-it-yourselfers where you can, pull the brake fluid through each line separately. You start the furthest away from the vehicle and you work your way towards the closest to your master cylinder. But that is an important step, in my opinion, in making sure you're taking care of your vehicle, protecting you and whoever it is that's riding with you in your vehicle and everybody else on the road, because if you don't have brakes, everybody's screwed. So I'll get off my soapbox. I've got a lot I got to cover. I'm going to get to working on this truck, getting the spark plugs changed first, show you some of the things I do when I change my spark plugs. We're going to check the air filter. We're changing the oil. Like I said, we're going to flush the brake fluid. We'll check the brake pads, and we'll get into doing a whole bunch of maintenance on this truck to get it in tip-top shape. Even though it's got almost 100,000 miles on it, she should last for a super long time if you take care of them. Oil, additives, stuff like that's far cheaper than internal engine parts. Or if you're paying somebody to do this, if you're paying somebody to fix a blown lifter when you could have resolved that by just having proper oil in your vehicle, it's way, way, way worth the investment to just buy the right fluid, the right additive, and take care of your vehicle, in my humble opinion. However, we got a lot to cover. That's enough of me gabbing. This is probably an absurdly long video. If you've made it this far, I appreciate it. Now let's get to work. As you probably noticed in my little soapbox spiel beginning of the video, I am under the weather, so I feel like crap. I think I've got influenza, and if I'm not healthy for more than 2 weeks, then I have to catch whatever it is my family has or my family friends have, and then I'm sick again. So I am going to use that as my excuse when I'm struggling to do things like take out a spark plug, which should be a very simple job, and I am winded and sweating and look like a crackhead. So we're taking out the spark plugs on the driver's side of the vehicle first. I'm going to pull out the plugs, just inspect them, make sure there's not like significant problems. The truck runs pretty good. We'll pull the plugs. I'm going to put a little tiny dab of anti-seize on the threads, just so in the future, if I ever have to pull a spark plug, I don't expect any of these to be horrible to take out, but when I pull a spark plug again, it'll be that much easier to do so. Or if I end up selling this truck, whoever buys it, if they neglect it, and in the future they need to buy a new spark plug, it'll be easier for them. So, yeah, I mean, the spark plugs don't look horrible. This one looks better than the last one. I can see we've got some grease on the bottom of the spark plug. That's a good sign. So we're definitely working with something that is either OE, or I could have potentially replaced these plugs once before, but they don't look immaculate. So replacing these spark plugs, it's not the most economical thing in the world, but I'm going with the OEM. There's nothing performance done to this engine. I just want it to be reliable for as long as possible. That's why I'm running the EC Delcos again. So we're gonna go ahead and get these yanked out. Oh, that's what the plug looks like. I don't know if I'm in view of the camera. Let me see if I can get you guys a view there. Yeah, so we're just gonna do all the plugs, but they look like, you know, the truck's burning properly. Okay. And I'm replacing the plugs. The driver's side, in my opinion, easier to do the plugs than the passenger side. It can suck. Come on now. Oh. Okay. Oh, good. Oh, good. Jeez. This is not a good look. So, pulling the wire, even though I grabbed the outside of the spark plug wire, I just ripped my spark plug wire apart. So, isn't that great? So I'm going to be needing to replace that wire. I won't trust that I will have good connection for proper spark since I just yanked the core of this spark plug wire apart. I may have some backups. I'll have to take a look. I'm pretty sure, since I've dealt with many of the 6.2 LS3 style engines, these look proper length based on what I've dealt with, but that is such an unfortunate situation to run into right away. Huh? What a shame. You know, how's a guy who likes making modifications to vehicles, he can appreciate horsepower, he loves aftermarket parts, how are they supposed to get ahead when they just want to do stock or factory replacements? You know, just make the vehicle run reliably. And something like, you know, I break a spark plug wire, pretty simple, and I immediately think, well, you know, these are probably what, 8mm wires? Why not go with 10? Why not get, you know, an aftermarket set of Excel spark plug wires? Or, you know, what if I went to an upgraded coil pack? And it's just, if you give a mouse a cookie, it's a situation. I've had a cam 5.3 liter that I had tuned. I put a DOD delete and put in a stage 1 Texas speed cam, cold air intake, put in a flex fuel sensor, had it tuned, just a stage 1, you know, standard tune from a local performance shop. And the truck was snappy, it was quick. It, you know, the stage 1 cam, you could definitely still feel it, you know, close to bouncing off the torque converter when it's sitting at the light. And I love, and I can definitely appreciate a stock vehicle, but it just feels like that's what happens. You start looking at, oh, well, I could just remove this huge plastic shroud. I could have a simple pipe go into an, you know, a nice cold air induction, and then you make your engine bay look cleaner. Well, then you break a spark plug wire and you go, do I buy all new wires? Do I replace that one spark plug wire? Do I go performance? Do I go aftermarket? That's the pain and the problem. I feel like it's tough. You're challenged with that question all the time. You know, I'm kind of joking, but I'm also kind of serious. You never know. When should you stop with the performance stuff? Should your daily driver have that type of performance? I mean, a better conductive based, you know, providing more current and amperage and spark to your beautiful little spark plug is a good thing. You want the best spark you can get. That can't hurt the performance of the engine to have a better spark plug wire. You're a stock spark plug, you're a stock engine, that's just a good thing. Yeah, it's just a problem. Maybe not, you know, maybe I'm the only sick person that has that problem. Can't imagine I'm the only person that has that problem. You know, if you have appropriate channel lock, like the appropriate one, which I'm sure I have a different toolbox. Come on. Oh. Okay. So here I am. Just struggling. fighting a good fight. And you know, I guess I would way rather have these spark plugs be good and be replacing them than to be questioning, well, maybe the spark plugs are bad, and that could be why the engine has a hesitation or isn't running right. The engine's running fine, I just feel like at idle, it feels like the engine can be, you know, might be slightly rough. And I could be overanalyzing the way it's running also. But I'd rather just change the plugs and give myself that peace of mind. Okay, we got it. Good. Good. All right. That's 4 spark plugs out of this side of the engine. So other than the fact that I screwed up one of the spark plug wires, that's pretty simple. Now there's a little bit of gunk on this, so I feel good about replacing these plugs. So I'll go ahead and get the 4 yanked out of that side. We'll get NICs on all these plugs. I'll take a peek and see if I can get a wire. I think you guys get it as far as pulling the spark plugs. We're going to be putting in good plugs. Put a little tiny dab, a tiniest dab ever of NICs on the threads, the side of the spark plug thread. And that'll make it easier to pull the spark plug out of your head in the future. That's just a recommendation. It's not a must. You don't have to do it. Having the OEM spark plugs, I just feel good about that. Having a nice spark, that'll make a clean running engine. Next time you guys see me, I will probably be the next day. I'll have a decision made on my spark plug wires, and we will be moving on to doing, I'm assuming we're going to be doing an oil change, and then I'll be doing popping the wheels off. We'll take care of the brake fluid flush, where we're going to pull some of that old brake fluid through this reservoir, through the brake lines, putting in some fresh stuff. So let's get to it.